Folks, check out Spencer's work on Locked On Ducks, Locked On Pac-12 as well. And since you went there, Spencer, with the offensive line, you mentioned the two key pieces missing from 2022. I'm seeing 96 starts coming back, though, so they do have some veterans coming back. And of course, Josh Connerly is the guy that people are excited about just because of his recruiting ranking and 5-star, and he could turn out to be, the next great Oregon offensive lineman. But yes, they performed so well last year that can it be reasonably expected that they're going to meet that mark this year?
No, I don't think that's a reasonable expectation, even if everything goes as well as we'd like it to along the offensive line, because you were losing a sixth-year starting center that you had last year in Alex Forsyth. You had an offensive line that did not follow Mario Cristobal down to Miami, but stayed with the Ducks. And that was an offensive line that had been built, that had been coached to be an elite unit, and they had been recruited that way, and that is exactly what they were. And across the board, they had depth, they had positional versatility, they had experience, they were smart, and they were just good. They were just really, really good, except they kept committing false starts last year in the red zone. I don't know what was up with that. But other than that, they did an excellent job. I mean, it's probably... In my lifetime, Mark, I think the best offensive line Oregon has ever had. Georgia did not set, for everything that went wrong in that game, Oregon ran the ball at 4.5 yards a carry. Not bad. Bo Nix was not sacked. Not bad. You had other things that just didn't go well. Offensive line was not the problem in that game. And that was the national champion. That is how good that O-line was. And they had allowed one sack through the first 8 weeks. One sack in 8 weeks of football. I don't care if you have a mobile quarterback. That's not normal. You can't, I just cannot see how, despite all the talent they do have some returning production, but you're working in a new center, a new left tackle, and part of this is going to come down to Bo Nix as well, because he's got to get them into the right play calls. He's got to get them into the right protections. That's partly on him, and he deserves some of the credit for last year as well, and his mobility contributed to those stats. But I just don't see how, when you have a sixth-year starting center in college football and you have other guys who have been starting for 2, 3, or 4 years on the offensive line, I just don't see how the group can be as good as they could still be top 20 in the country. I think that's a reasonable goal for them. They can't possibly be what they were a season ago. Again, would love to be proven wrong, but I am in no way expecting them to be just as great as they were a season ago.
I'm still getting over 4.5 yards per carry, because I do remember that stat from that demolition, thinking,
Yeah.
wow, this is, nobody's bringing this up. They ran the ball well against Georgia. Georgia lives in sub 3 yards per carry range against good teams. So
yeah, and one of my takeaways after the game, as I tried to comb through and find any sort of positive, was, look, I know we put up 3 points and that was a disaster, but we threw an interception that was caught inside the 10-yard line on a deep shot to a guy that we probably shouldn't have been taking a deep shot to. We failed to convert a fourth down in the red zone late in the game. We threw an interception on another. Like, we were moving the ball. We just kept stalling because the Georgia defense was so good situationally there. So one of my takeaways was, I think we're going to be able to move the ball on any Pac-12 team. Lo and behold, that ended up being true.